In this section, we're going to take a look at material time. We've got a video here just called Countdown. It's a frame accurate counter, just 0 to 300 for 30 frames per second. And we're going to go ahead and we'll create a piece of geometry that we're going to use with TP. We've got a TP already created. Let's get into the TP UI. And create our first rule. And we'll go ahead and use a generator particle draw to create some particles out here. And what we're going to do is actually we're going to born one particle at frame 0, and then we're going to come forward. Let's actually change our max time setup to be 300 frames long. And then say on frame 100 we'll add another particle, and then here on frame, let's do frame 150, we'll add number 3. Okay, so we've got 3 particles being born, each at different times, and we're going to go ahead and use a geom instance, shape geom instance, and that's going to let us pick geometry from the scene. And we'll go ahead and just do let's turn on show mesh, turn off edit on the fly. We'll get real-time updates, and you can see that these particles are disappearing here. This is because the particle draw is specifying the life to be only 30 frames. We're going to go ahead and increase that to be 300. Yeah, we'll do 300 for now. That'll be fine. And what we'll see is that as we scrub forward here a little bit, we'll go ahead and render. Of course, the particles are just going to go ahead and inherit the material off the geom instance, so that's why they appear like that. What we're going to do is create another rule where we are going to affect the all group, and we're going to say I want to use a material operator. I want to use, in this case, we're going to use material, shape material. And shape material is going to let us assign a specific material to these particles. Go ahead and bring up material editor, and let's go find a bitmap. We're going to grab that countdown movie that we have. We load that. Okay. Let's set our background color and max to be a little brighter. And we're going to change our viewport around a little bit to see these. And let's go ahead. Oh, and of course we need to assign that material into that slot. We'll use an instance of it. And now we'll go ahead, and as we scrub forward, what we'll see is that each of the particles is now using that material, but of course they're all using the same time. We haven't set up anything to control their time yet. And of course the original source object is just using its original material. The shape material is only going to affect those particles. Okay, pretty basic. Let's take a look at what we have to do in order to use material time. Here under the operators, material time, we'll drop one of those in here, and you can see he needs a particle input. We'll make that connection. And he's got several different options here. Let's actually go ahead and right click and do visible all to see all of his inputs, and he's got no outputs. All he does is basically modifies the material time for whatever particle he's connected to. Of course, it has the standard on input, which can be used to tell this operator to be on or off, as well as a time input, so it can control how this operator sees time. This is very important to the nonlinear animation. And then of course we have the particle input, which is required, and then we've got the material time, which corresponds to this slot here. And then we also have a type, which is an integer, which is going to control whether it uses method 0, 1, 2, or 3. Right now, let's go ahead and we will just use let's use particle age absolute. This is just going to say whatever the particle age is, go ahead and set the material to render at that frame. So if the particle, will come out here, this guy's born at 0, so by 80 he will render the material at frame 80, because that's going to be his absolute particle age. So it's just a single frame accurate version. And we'll go ahead and see that show up. Okay, so there it is, time 80. Let's take a look. Let's go ahead and get some other particles born in there. And remember that last one, I think, is born at 150, so we'll come out here to 250. So what we expect to see is this guy to be 250. This one's born at 100, so he'll be 150. And this guy's born at 150, so 100 frames later, he'll be 100. It's always going to use the particle's actual age to look up which frame to use. Okay, so pretty simple there. Each particle is, this one's older than this one, so he's going to use whatever his existing age is. Just look up the material time for this shape material, which is a movie there. Let's be good, and we'll rename that material to, we'll just call it MOV. So now when we select that, we can see there. Okay, but let's take a look at some of these other methods.